Hi everyone, my name is Ellie Eberts, and today we are going to begin working on Princess Mercury from Sailor Moon. I'm really excited to work on this costume. It's been a long time since I've made a ball gown, and I don't think I've ever made one on this channel before. So it's gonna be a little different and a few new techniques that I think will be really exciting to learn about. So today we are going to be focusing on the long flowy skirt that Princess Mercury has. I'm going to be making this skirt out of a polyester lining material and a polyester chiffon. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and get started. So before we even begin cutting our fabrics, we're going to need to do some math. I know, everyone's favorite word, math. Well, luckily for us, there are lots of online calculators to help us do this math, but I'm also going to tell you the formulas just in case you're a math person and you like to do it yourself. So we're going to be making a circle skirt. A circle skirt is a skirt that is a, well, circle. So when you're cutting this, it's going to end up looking like a big donut. So you're gonna have a giant circle and then a little circle in the inside for your waist. So the first thing we're gonna figure out is the radius of our waist. So we're going to take the circumference of our waist, which is what you measure when you use a tape measure to measure your waist, and turn it into a radius. To do that, the formula is circumference equals 2 pi r. Or you can plug it into a calculator online like I do, and I will link one of those in the description below. So now that we have our waist measurement, we get to move on to the length of our skirt. So I'm approximately like 5'9"-ish, and everyone's length measurement is going to be different depending on how long you want your skirt to be. I simply take my tape measure and hang it from my waist. And then I want the other end of the tape measure to be about as long as I want my skirt to be. So then whatever number I'm holding at is how long my skirt is. So for me, the front of my skirt ended up being 44 inches long. Okay, so now we're going to sketch out a cutting pattern just so we kind of know what we're doing. This skirt has a train, so the back of my skirt is going to be a lot longer than the front, and I want to be able to sketch this out so I not only know how much fabric I need to buy, but also so I don't make any mistakes while I'm cutting and end up needing to rebuy my fabric. So first of all, I decided that for Princess Mercury, I'm going to be using a 1.5 circle skirt. So that means there is at least one full circle and then one half circle in my skirt. I'm going to sketch this out on a sketch pad. The top is along the yardage of my fabric. So I ended up ordering 10 yards, so the top of this is 10 yards. The length, however, is restricted by the size of the fabric. Most polyester fabrics come at around 60 inches wide, so this is maxed out at 60 inches. So for my first skirt, I'm going to keep both lengths the same size. So they are 44 inches plus my radius of my waist. I usually round up my radius a little bit just because I'm going to be gathering my skirt and it doesn't have to be perfect. So we're going to say that my waist radius is 5 inches, and then the length of my skirt is 44 inches. So that gives us 49 inches, but just to round out for hems and seam allowance, I'm going to cut these at 50 inches. So I have my material folded so that the width of the material is a fold, and then the yardage goes along the way. I'm going to use my tape measure as a guide, and I'm going to keep one point at the corner where my fold is, and then I'm going to measure out 50 inches all the way along. After that, I'm also going to measure out 5 inches, and that's going to be the waist radius donut hole of my skirt. So we're gonna go ahead and cut this out. Next, we get to move on to the more challenging skirt. Like I said, my Princess Mercury skirt is going to have a train, so I'm going to need to make one side longer than the other. However, since I cut the first piece with 50 inches of length, I don't want to be sewing 60 inches onto a 50-inch side and then trimming that. So we're going to make one side 50 inches, just like we did with the first part of the skirt, and then we're going to make the train for the rest of the way. So I have found a center point that is 50 inches from the side of my material, so that way I'm using as little material as possible, and I have pinned my So I have found a center point that is 50 inches from the side of my material, and I have pinned the tip of my tape measure right there. Now I'm going to go along and mark 50 inches and then move it a little bit 51, a little bit more 52, a little bit more 53, all the way along until I get to the end of my material. And since this is the last skirt I need to be cutting, I'm going to just use as much material as I possibly can. So we are going to try and make this as smooth of a curve as possible. And then once you have that part all ready, you're going to trace your little donut hole for your waist as well, and then you can cut this all out. I cut this last piece of skirt with 2 pieces of material on top of each other, so it cut 2 copies of it. So now I have 3 skirt pieces and I'm ready to rock and roll. Now here is where the rest of the skirt gets pretty darn easy. We're going to stitch these pieces all together using a French seam, so that way we don't get any little scragglies or flowaways or any of that icky stuff. And then we're going to hem the skirts, again with a French hem. It's important to let these skirts hang overnight before you hem them. This way you can get any pull or drape of the material out, and you can level off that hem before adding it. So now I'm going to hem these skirts using a French or a baby hem. I went over this recently in a tutorial video, so feel free to click the link above if you want to learn more about it, because I'm just gonna speed through it right now. I went ahead and basted the entirety of my skirts, and then I ironed, folded, pinned, and sewed them one more time, so that way my entire hem is encased in this beautiful baby hem. I'm gonna admit that this took a million years. There is so much yardage in this hem that it took me an entire night. I'm gonna say maybe 4 or 5 hours to hem both of my skirts. So, yikes. Now that we've hemmed our skirts, we're going to attach them to a waist tape. I have ran gather stitches along the tops of my lining skirt and my chiffon skirt, and now I'm going to simply stitch these onto a piece of ribbon that I cut to be about the same size as my waist. So once these are stitched into place, as I'm stitching these into place, I want to make sure that I am lining up the seams of the lining skirt and the fashion skirt. So this way we have a place to put a zipper eventually. Okay, so these are all stitched together. I'm going to seam rip, maybe 5 or 7 inches of the seams that are matched up on the back of our skirt. This is where our zipper will go, so I'm going to seam rip this open so we have a place to put it in the future. Now, for me personally, I'm going to be attaching these skirts to my Sailor Mercury dress, so I am not going to add a waistband. However, if you're simply making a ball gown skirt or a long skirt to run around in, this is where you would want to attach a zipper and a waistband and some hooks and bars to finish it off. I absolutely love making long ball gown skirts, especially when they're made out of chiffon. I think it's just very flowy and romantic and soft and pretty, and they make me really happy, especially with the long trains too. It's very fun. So if you get a chance to make one, I 100% suggest it. I think you'll really enjoy it. In the next video, we are going to be attaching this skirt to my Sailor Mercury dress, as well as constructing the dress, and then this costume should be done. It's actually pretty simple once you break it down into pieces. Now, if you want to see a little bit more of my behind the scenes process on this dress, or if you would like written tutorials on this ball gown skirt, feel free to join my Patreon. I will link it down below. I've already posted a lot of work in progress photos there, and if you enjoyed this video, I think you might enjoy it there as well. As always, if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. And until next time, be sure to keep sewing, stay positive, and have fun. I will see you guys later. Bye!